Hi, this is Bonnie Maitlen again with sponsorship, and this is another sponsorship moment. This one is intended to give you some details on how to actually sponsor a pilgrim at the Walk to Emmaus. Hopefully, you got a chance to see the first one on why sponsor, and now you've decided to sponsor someone, and this is giving you some of the specifics. Um, First of all, the way we like to start it with sponsorship is to pray. Pray about who would you like to invite to the Walk to Emmaus. The whole walk is filled in prayer, and it really begins way in advance when we begin to pray about who are the right people for me to invite. And we pray that they have time to discern that and that they make a good decision about coming to the walk. Then I think as you're thinking about who to invite, what do I say to them? How do I convince them that the walk would be a good thing? I think if you tell your own story, talk about what the walk meant to you, why you decided to go on the walk, what you experienced in part in terms of just being a blessing. I know I've told people that it was one of the biggest blessings that I can remember, and a very big blessing was that my husband and I went a week apart, but on the same walk. And that just, is a way to strengthen and bond a relationship as well. So share a bit about your story, your personal testimony, what was so impactful for you. A lot of people wonder, how can you tell people about the walk without ruining the many surprises that we have? And I think there is some confusion or some apprehension about, oh, we can't tell them anything. And then we get a reputation from people who think it's big secret, or it's a cult, or we've heard a lot of different descriptions about what people think it is. And it isn't. It's just a huge blessing, and we don't want to tell too much because we don't want to take away that element of joy and surprise at some of the things that happen. I think it's fine to tell them the basic structure of the walk. I typically will tell people it is an amazing weekend that is filled with prayer and song and fellowship and food, and there are talks. And I say there are 15 talks on a variety of topics. 5 of them are from clergy, and the others are from lay individuals. And I said some of the most impactful stories that I've heard and testimonies about faith. And so I think you'll find them so interesting. I tell them that for me, the grace talks were particularly impactful. I don't think I ever understood grace the way I did after an Emmaus walk, and that is a blessing. So I think you can tell them about that. You can tell them, I tell them that they will be sitting with individuals at a table. They'll get to know people well because there's discussion and conversation. There's some activities that we do together as a table. I think you can tell them that we have glorified bunk houses or dorms, whatever, however you want to describe it. And then there are groups of people who stay together there. And part of what you'll tell them are the things to bring and how to be comfortable while they're there. So those are kind of the ideas that I share with individuals. I try not to make it a big mystery. I might say, there's some things we may not tell you about because we want you to enjoy the surprises, the agape love that is filling the weekend, and some of those surprises that happen. Another consideration for you is how many people can you sponsor? Um, if you really want to think about that, because it is a responsibility to sponsor a pilgrim, and I have sponsored many at one time, and that is possible. But some of the things that take a lot of time are gathering the appropriate agape letters, making sure that I can get the person there on Thursday and pick them up on Sunday, that I can help attend to family and other things, which I'll talk about in a moment. But you really want to think and pray about how many people can I sponsor. Again, if you have a number of people who are coming from your same church or circle of friends, maybe there's someone else who could co-sponsor with you, or you could help find other sponsors, so that everyone that you have in mind can be sponsored. You can sponsor more than one person, but I would just make sure that you have enough time and attention for the programs that you do sponsor. I would pray about the financial aspect. This is another place that can get confusing. There are different ways to manage the fee for the Walk to Emmaus. The fee we intentionally keep low. It might sound like a lot, and yet it's covering the accommodations, the food, the activities. It's covering everything for the weekend, and it is a $150 fee. And yet, when you think about almost 4 days away, 3.5 days away, with food and lodging, and other things, that's a very reasonable price. There are some people who like to pay for their pilgrim to come, and that is great. If you have the means to do that, that is something that is very nice to do. There are others who think that the pilgrim should have some skin in the game, and so they may pay half and have the pilgrim pay half. There are others where the pilgrim will pay the full amount. We have scholarships available. We don't ever want someone to miss the walk to Emmaus because they don't have the funds. So we do have a scholarship fund that will pay up to half of the fees, and you can contact any board member. You can contact me if you have a pilgrim who you believe needs a scholarship. It's also a good time to tell you it's a great place to make a contribution when you're looking for places to give. The Emmaus Scholarship Fund is a great place because imagine the gift that gives again and again as someone gets to go on a walk to Emmaus. When you are inviting someone, I find that I will approach them early. I'll say, have you ever considered going on a walk to Emmaus? And they might say, well, tell me about it. And so I'll tell them about it and tell my story and how I'm committed to it and very passionate about it. And then I'll say, I'd like you to think about it, pray about it, and we'll talk again. And I'll give them a little bit of time, and then I'll go back and have a follow-up conversation with you. We've prepared some pretty simple slips of paper that you can find on our website where it has the dates of the walk, and you can cut them out and hand a person, here's the date for the men's walk, here's the date for the women's walk. Love for you to think about it. When you are approaching someone, you might also talk about their spouse if that is something that would interest them as well. And then you want to keep following up. I find that I have followed up again and again and again and again, and it feels like I have followed up forever, and the person says, no, I can't go on this walk. So then I put them on my list for the next year. There are people that I have invited 3, 4, 5 years, and eventually they go to the walk. Gary and I were among those people. Our sponsor, Pastor Borders, invited us again and again and again. I think finally one day he said, here's the date. I'm going to pick you up and take you to the walk to Emmaus, because he knew it would be a blessing for us. And of course, after we went, we said, why did we wait so long? So it does take follow-up. I have a list of people, and I have some kind of a tracking, I'm very organized, a tracking system, so that I'm able to make sure that I have invited them, I've given them some information, and then follow up. We also have a brochure that you can get from one of the board members or get at one of the gatherings. There should be a copy of the brochure on the website that you could actually print and hand out. So that's also nice to do when you're approaching someone. Another way that you help in the sponsoring of a pilgrim is to help them complete the application. So when you have someone who's interested, you want to sit down with them with an application. Sometimes I'll go out for coffee with someone and we'll sit down together and we'll go through the application and try to complete it together. The first page of the application is information about the individual, basic contact information, what church do they go to, the name of their pastor, some of the activities that they're involved in, why they're interested in the walk to Emmaus. It will also ask them if they have any physical disabilities or concerns. It will ask about the spouse. Say that it's a blessing for you and your spouse both to attend. Is that something your spouse would be interested in? And then you, as a sponsor, sign that first page of the application, and you then go on to the second page. We ask for a non-refundable fund amount of $50 to accompany the application. You can send it all in, or you can send in just the $50 non-refundable fee. If a person has a good reason not to attend and they have given the $50, often we will allow them to apply that toward them coming at a later time. The second page of the application is for you to complete, and it says who you are, who the pilgrim is that you're sponsoring. It has your contact information. It asks about the church that you attend. It also asks you if you attend the gatherings, which I really hope you do. They're wonderful fellowship and a time of getting together with people from all different walks. Ask if you belong to a reunion or a share group. and that would be a group that meets often as a small group to keep your walk alive, to talk about, what a blessing you've had that week and where have you been challenged. I've been a member of a share group for years and years, and it's a small group of 5 of us, and we meet on Friday mornings, and it is a real blessing. They are a support to me. One of us lost a mother recently, and we were there to rally around her and support her. We ask if you understand the responsibilities of a sponsor, which hopefully you do. Hopefully you're listening to these little sponsor moments and in the gatherings and other places you've had the sponsorship training, so you know what your responsibilities are. And ask if you will pledge to be a good sponsor to the pilgrim that you are bringing forward. And then just questions like why you think it would be a benefit for this person to attend the walk, and if you have any concerns about this person. And these are all important questions that get passed on to the leadership team at the walk. We also ask you who will be making payment, if you will be paying, or if the pilgrim will, or if it's being shared somehow. And then we talk about the basic responsibilities of the sponsor, such as praying and continuing to pray for your pilgrim, attending the sponsor ceremony and the closing. I'll talk about those in a moment. Bringing your pilgrim to the walk on the Thursday and being there and praying for them during the sponsor hour, explaining to them the walk, also explaining to them about reunion groups and gatherings so that they're familiar with the support mechanism that is part of the walk, and that you really follow up with that pilgrim during their first month after the walk. So those are the kinds of things that we're asking you to acknowledge on the application. And then there is a third page which gets taken separately to the walk, and that is about the pilgrims' emergency contact information, meds that they might be taking, and other important information that we need to know while they are on the walk. So we are asking you to help them complete the application. There are places for you to sign and for the pilgrim to sign. There is the $50 non-refundable fee that needs to come with that, and that goes to the registrar of Emmaus, and that information is at the bottom of the form, so you'll know where to send that. We need to have these completed as soon as we can. We do make a determination closer to the walk to make sure that we have enough pilgrims to have a walk. So it's really great to get these in early, at least a month before the walk. Even before that is better. We can take them, if there's room for a walk, up until a couple of weeks before the walk. At that point, we're filling out name tags and putting people into groups and a lot of other things. So we really need to get those applications in. You want to think about maybe connecting with your pastor and in your church to be able to talk about the walk to Emmaus if someone else hasn't already done that, and to invite people to talk to you about attending the walk. That's one way that we can reach out to people, and the more people who attend a church, the more they hear about Emmaus and become interested in it. I know in our church we have had over 100 people attend the walk, so we have a really active group of people, and it's very wonderful when someone attends a walk. There are a lot of people who are praying for them and writing agape letters. There's another responsibility that you have that's a very important one, and it's a tricky one. So I have a separate video on this, and that is gathering agape letters or letters of love for the individual. If you remember your own walk, you'll remember that you miraculously had this envelope of letters on Sunday, and those are gathered by the sponsor. And so I will give you more information in a separate video, because I've sponsored a lot of people, and I've really worked hard on figuring out how to get a good number of letters. And so I will give you some tips in a separate video on that. But basically, you want to make sure that the person has at least 10 or 12 letters. And I really try to make sure that they have letters from family members, their own children, close friends, as well as people from the Emmaus community, so that when at the walk, they will have that very important period of reflection and surprise when they get the letters. I mentioned the sponsorship hour and bringing the pilgrim to the walk. They need to be at the walk by 6:30 on Thursday. of the walk. We have maps and information for you on where to take them. And when you arrive at Shiloh Park, you will find that there are servants in action, SIAs, who are there to help take the person to their sleeping room and get their room all arranged, and many people there to welcome and help them feel really welcome to the walk. And so you will be there with them. And we have a reception and cookies and coffee and time to just gather and spend with people and for them to meet others who will be part of the walk. And then there's the time when the walk begins and the pilgrims all go into the conference room to begin their evening together. And at that moment, they don't realize this, but the sponsors are going into the chapel and are praying for every pilgrim by name, one at a time. And so you would be there to represent your sponsor and pray for you, or your pilgrim, pray for your pilgrim. If for some reason you're not able to attend that day, you'll want to make sure there is someone else there to bring your pilgrim and also to pray for them. We have a prayer vigil. You probably remember from your own walk that we have prayer throughout the entire walk. And we have people praying all through the night, 24 hours for the 3.5 days, the 72 hours that the walk goes on. So think about putting your name down one or two places on the prayer vigil so you can be praying. You want to be sure to come back on Sunday to pick up your pilgrim, and that is the closing, which you don't ever want to miss. It's an amazing time when people talk about what their walk has meant to them. And so you would be coming in on Sunday afternoon around 4 p.m. when we all gather and we go in and have that closing time with them and communion with them. You might think about on your way to the walk that you talk to them about the lack of connection with computer, cell phone, etc. You might encourage them either to leave their cell phone with you or to leave it at home. At least let them know that we will be turning those off. Of course, we'll cover that with them when they come, but sometimes it's helpful when the sponsor gives them a bit of warning about that. And then finally, the 4th days for the pilgrim, you want to make sure you stay connected when they come back from the walk and when they go back into the real world, and need that support from all of us to say, God loves you, remember your walk, stay strong. So I hope this has helped you get an idea of what the roles and the responsibilities of a sponsor are, kind of a quick look at the whole process. And again, there are a number of separate videos that we have done to help you look at different aspects of being a sponsor. And hopefully this has helped you look at this in a total preview. Thank you for sponsoring. It's a blessing for the pilgrim. It's a blessing for you.